This podcast is sponsored by Utocop. For more details, please click on the link that is in the description below. So, welcome to episode 8 of On a Personal Note with Adarsh Sakre. It's been a while since I met y'all. It's good that we are back. It's gonna feel even great to release this episode. I hope you, your friends, and your family are in good health while you watch this episode. Keep some time away for this. This is going to be a brilliant episode. We have a sweet yet brilliant personality in the studio today, and her name is Shilpa Manari. Welcome, Shilpa, to OAPN.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yes, awesome. So, I will explain to you what Shilpa is about going forward. But ideally, Shilpa is the founder of this very, value-based organization, I can say, that is Authentic Living. Now, Shilpa, like I said, I want to show you something. And let me start off the episode with that. So Shilpa and her friend Naina kind of had a conversation with me about, how they'd be interested in doing something like this. And I showed equal interest. But there's one thing I hadn't shown them until now, and I'm going to show them right now. So Shilpa, there's this note that I make on my phone as to when I see someone or when I see someone doing something, I immediately note down their name on my phone as to when I want to interview them. To just make it clear to you, when we spoke, it was already August 17th.
Yeah.
And this note was last edited on August 1st. And please read out the name that is fourth last on the phone.
Oh, Authentic Living.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
So, to tell you guys the truth, as soon as I got the first glimpse of Authentic Living, right, I knew I had to interview you. I'm not even kidding about this. And I didn't even want to reveal this when we actually spoke, because I first want to know what y'all are feeling about it, right? So, as soon as I saw your video up on Instagram, I said, man, this is something that needs to be done. And honestly, I didn't even know Naina works at Authentic Living. And I said, okay, we'll reach out. And then in a few days, I think Authentic Living put out a post welcoming Naina. I said, oh, so Naina works at Authentic Living. And then I just let it go, and then this happened. So very happy that you're here. Yes, 100%. And I really believe in that. Like, otherwise, how do things like this happen, right?
Absolutely.
So amazing to have you here, Shilpa.
Thank you so much.
What you're going to get from this episode is the journey of how Shilpa became the person she is, and also how did this Authentic Living come into, come on ground. So Shilpa, let's start off with a simple thing, first of all, let's tell them what is Authentic Living about.
All right. So Authentic Living is an initiative. I call it an initiative because it's still 1 year old. It's taking its own shape. It's here in India for people to get the support that's required with respect to their well-being and mental health.
Okay.
So that's literally the bottom line of what Authentic Living is from a holistic approach. So it's not just mental health from the aspect of the mind work, but rather, we are one being. There is body, mind, everything integrated. So how do we create well-being and support people to reach their best selves and also take care of their own well-being through this platform?
So the reason why that already sounds interesting for me is, let's be honest, right? We are in a time where we need
Absolutely.
something like this, because to tell you, I can start off with a personal experience of my own. Like the first time I went through real bad anxiety, I didn't even know what it was, why that is, why am I going through a phase like that. And honestly, that phase of my life, it was so tough for me because I had to figure it out all on my own. It's only then I realized that there are people who are taking care of situations like this. And I will never forget the person I associated myself with at the time. And she was amazing help. And I still message her and I tell her, even today I look back at those days and I say, man, what if that help wasn't there at that time? So I think that awareness is only growing, which is awesome. What do you feel from a space of, owning or running an organization of Authentic Living? Let's talk about what's the awareness like today in a place of mental health. What do you feel?
So basically, I think mental health is just getting started. Like the notice is happening. If we start from the from the ground, there's a lot of stigma that exists.
Okay.
So people don't want to say they're feeling anxious. They don't want to say they're feeling depressed.
Yeah.
They're struggling, but they're not talking about it, right? So there's a lot of stigma that's there against mental health and well-being, even to have conversations or to seek help. So that's one challenge that is there.
Okay.
But the good part is at least the younger people are now starting to realize that this is a conversation we need to have. I use this example. I say that, in every city, you need to have a general physician. If you're somebody who works out, a physiotherapist, and also a psychologist. If you have all these three, then you have kind of set yourself up for like your own well-being, because
So you're
all
saying
of those
individually.
things. As an individual,
Yeah.
So that's what I say, because I really think that now, as I said, the younger folks, all of us are starting to realize there's a need for mental health and well-being. But again, there's another layer of challenge as to where do we find good therapists.
Yeah.
That's the first question that is there. Second question is that do I have enough financial resources to be able to pay for the therapy?
Yeah.
Because good quality therapy is slightly expensive.
Yeah.
Right? And given the whole ambiguity right now with the pandemic and the second wave, the amount of grief, the death that's happened, the losses, this I think is a need of the hour. And that's literally why Authentic Living exists right now, because it was in a different shape a year back.
Yeah.
When I started a year back, my whole goal was I use the phrase transform, transcend, thrive, which is transform the things that you can change about yourself and your life, transcend the things that you cannot, so that it doesn't affect you, and learn to thrive. Because we're all just surviving through usually. But when pandemic, the second wave hit, I realized thriving is a conversation for much later, probably many years down the line. We need to now start focusing on basic survival. And then when I did research is when I realized that the mental health space in India has a long way to go.
Long way to go.
Structurally,
And maybe you all
systemically.
become the partners.
That's what I would
of
love to
that.
do. Absolutely.
Yeah.
because it is, so I'm not a therapist, qualified therapist, by myself. I am an engineer by education.
Okay.
I also have a management, degree certification. I've worked in the social sector, worked with children at risk and all of that. So I come from a very different background. But when it comes to entrepreneurship, where do you put your weight behind? Right? And I've always believed in human-centric impact.
Okay.
And if we can be that support system platform that decides that high-quality therapy is provided, which means we find the good quality therapists, high-quality therapists, bring them on board, we ongoingly support their education, because the world is constantly evolving. So there's a need for upskilling that is there.
Yeah, you can't just get them in and
Exactly.
let them be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You need to pay them well too.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's the other challenge that I notice in our country, where therapists are not paid well. Right? So that's the other one. The whole side of quality care being provided is one. Awareness being provided would be the other one. As to, like, for people, not everybody has to go to a therapist.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you can do a lot of self work by yourself. Just like anxiety, one of the biggest solutions for anxiety is to practice mindfulness. Right? Or to, if you're somebody who feels anxious in your body, like, integrate some movement ways of coping with it. So how do we provide material and content through either social media or like awareness programs? We do that every month. We do 2 such 1.5 hour, 2 hour sessions for people to take it and run with it.
So in a nutshell, these are the loopholes Authentic Living wants to address.
Absolutely.
With their journey, right? Awesome. We'll, I think we'll get into more of Authentic Living.
Sure. Because I think we've just covered the individual level. There is an organizational level support we provide too.
True. So what I want you guys to look at here is, now you've understood what Authentic Living stands for. I want you to put that on a pause. Let's understand the guest a little more and then jump on to this topic again. So what is Shilpa as a person? Like, who is she, say, personally and professionally?
Okay.
And where did all this start? Like, you took such a nice word called mindfulness, right? I hope I understand that someday. I haven't. I hope to.
Okay.
Right? So where did all this start for Shilpa as a person?
Okay. Do you want me to start from the start?
Okay. So also to give you a background, if you watched Mannat Anand's episode, you will know that she is she works at Make a Difference, and Shilpa is a close friend of Mannat as well, and they have worked at Make a Difference as well. So there's a lot of volunteering that has already gone in. There's a lot of giving back that's already a trait of Shilpa. So that is a little context for you as well. So yeah, go ahead. Whatever you feel is in context of explaining why Authentic Living.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And where did Shilpa develop into that person? Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, all right. So, I mean, I'll give a little bit of history because
Yeah.
that's very relevant to
Please.
why Authentic Living exists.
Please.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm a Malayali, born and brought up in Chennai. The usual thing of, you dance, you go to school, you come back, and all of those things. But at a very young age, because of an incident that happened in my life, I decided that, you know what, I'll take on a role in my family and, fill a gap kind of a thing. And in that, I decided for myself, you know what, when I was 7 years old, I decided I'll do civil engineering.
What?
I will
At
join
7?
at 7. I will join my family business. I'll support my, family because my parents are in that field.
Okay. What were they into? What was the?
They have a company that manufactures and distributes construction chemicals and refractory products and all of that. So that's what they do. And that organization existed a year before I was even born. So
Okay,
I was
sweet.
born into a family where civil engineering was an integral part. And as a 7-year-old, I decided that, you know what, I will do this. And I did it. Right, so I was like a girl with a plan. So that's how I defined myself. So
Girl with a plan.
with a plan. So 7, I knew this is what I wanted to do.
Okay.
By the time I was in my 11th standard, I knew this university is where I want to go and study.
Beautiful.
And by the time I graduated from my engineering, I knew this is where I wanted to go do my masters.
Okay.
And after that, so all the way through until I was around 23, I always had a plan.
But where did the family business thought go? Like, was that a plan? Like,
That was part of the plan.
Okay.
That's why it's civil engineering that I did engineering, and
Okay.
then I did my masters and all
support
of
the business
to
as
support
well.
the business.
Okay.
So that was like, it's almost like, this is my destiny. This is what I want to do, and I am going to follow through that path. That's how it started.
Okay.
And I did through that. I did enjoy it. It's not that
So you did your engineering here? In
I did my engineering in Chennai in SRM University.
Okay.
Did my engineering in SRM Chennai, and then did my masters in New York.
Okay.
It's called Clarkson University.
Beautiful.
And then I had a choice. So that's when the recession was like to this 2011. So recession was just they're coming out of the recession and all, and jobs were hard for non-citizens.
Okay.
Right, so I had a choice: either I can stay on over there and try to find a job.
2012. This is 2012.
2011 December 2012 start, or I can come back to India, work in the same sector because I anyway knew I want to come back and join my family business, and then go do an MBA.
Okay.
So as a kid, I also had a dream to go and study at Harvard. So that was the other thing that was there as well. So I came back to India. I joined my family business. I started working with them.
Part of the plan.
Part of the plan.
Still part of the plan.
Still part of the plan. And then a lot of things went wrong,
Okay.
which
Of
really,
course.
of
Of
course,
course it has
yes,
to go wrong.
yes, absolutely.
Every story has that part, right? Like,
Yeah.
Even the girl who's saying, the girl with a plan,
Yes.
is saying a lot of things went wrong.
It went wrong quite
Yeah.
bad to an extent where, I met with an accident. I hurt my back. I
Oh
was
my.
stuck in bed for almost for a few months kind of a thing, where I could stand and walk for an hour in a day, hour or two, but otherwise it was just and we were not able to figure out what's going on and all of those things. So that was, I think, one of my first lows that I experienced, where I was like, okay, I don't know what's going on because I've always had a plan. Now all my plans have gone away. What do I do? And I was stuck in bed. And I actually literally, I remember binge watching Grey's Anatomy as a way to cope with, what I was doing. But that, I think, I remember, doctors were like, everything is fine, but we don't know what's going on. So I told myself that, you know what, if I go on like this, I will be depressed. I could see it. I cut myself off from my friends because life as I knew it did not exist anymore. So I told myself that, you know what, I am going to just sit back and think, what am I grateful for in the last 1 year?
Okay.
This was by the end of 2012.
Okay. So 2012 went in
All of this
whole recovery
yes,
process.
Yes. Things going wrong, recovery, everything. Because I came back to India only by April 2012. So then what happened was, I just told myself, I'm just going to sit and think about what am I grateful for.
Okay.
And it was
That was the only way to save yourself.
There was only way to
Yeah.
save myself, and I didn't even know why I was doing this. That's the funniest thing of all. I did. I spent a whole day, and there were small things, I graduated, I came back. Even though I'm sick, I'm staying with my parents. They're taking care of me. I have a home. I have my family around me, and all of those things. And after, overnight, I realized I slowly started getting better. It took a
Okay.
few more months of recovery.
And it was just the gratefulness that.
It happened. I don't know what changed, but probably a sense of I will do whatever it takes.
Okay.
I think that's really what happened. It's you
So
need to
nice.
mentally be ready to do whatever
Yeah.
it takes to kind of recover.
Yeah.
So that happened, and then I was already volunteering with Make a Difference.
Okay.
So anyway, this whole
So that started
in 2012. As soon as I came back
okay,
from
that
US,
had already
that had already
Okay.
started.
And the accident happened here.
In Chennai, yes.
Okay.
Yes, it all happened in Chennai. So I started getting better, and I was like, you know what, this family business doesn't make sense right now. Not the thing for me.
Yeah.
I started spending more time with Make a Difference, and by 2014 March, I had moved to Bangalore, and I was working with Make a Difference.
Full time.
Full time. By June, I started full time, but I was working with them, like interning with them and all of that.
So I want to just kind of, talk about something here.
Yeah.
And it was so profound, whatever you just said, because you said that whole year,
Yeah.
The accident kind of put you back in terms of your plan, in
Yeah.
terms of your thoughts, in
Yeah.
terms of where it takes you in life. We are talking about 12 months, right?
Yeah.
And now let's kind of address this pandemic situation.
Yeah.
In a way, it's been more than 12 months, but
Yeah.
peak of the pandemic, we can say 12 months is a, pretty relatable
Absolutely.
time.
Yeah.
So I think everyone who's kind of wondering if things have gone wrong for 12 months, this is a great way to cope. Like, sit back. Okay, things are going wrong, so let's sit back and just be grateful. Like, we are looking at a person
Yeah.
who's saying that helps, so why not, right? So
I think it's a mix of multiple layers, right? Like you got to also address the fact that things are hard.
yeah,
Like acknowledge it, feel whatever you're
Yeah.
feeling. But my biggest learning was you can either choose to be a victim of your life circumstances, or decide that one of the promise I made myself was if I get better, I will take complete control over my life and do
Yeah.
whatever it takes to
Yeah.
succeed.
and tell me if I'm saying this right. Suffering is usually caused not because of reality, but because of your reluctance to accepting
Yeah.
that something can be different.
Yes.
You're so hell-bent
Yes.
on the plan
Yeah.
that it's causing you the suffering.
Absolutely.
But chances are what's coming is better than your plan.
It's redirection, and I can tell you it has been for sure.
Awesome. So now moving into Make a Difference,
Yes.
say 2014.
14 till 2019 I was there. I think that really transformed my professional life, because
Okay.
professional as well as personal life, from an angle that I was somebody who struggled to trust
Okay.
and all of those. But in MAD I met so many genuine people where you really realize what it means to care. Right, and you realize that the foundation, people have been there for me and they've shown me care to really make me believe that I can trust again. Right, then you can take chances again in life,
Yeah.
kind of a thing. And also, I still distinctly remember there was this child who I was teaching,
Okay.
and child as in he was 16 or 17, and he
Okay.
basically came and said, Akka, we're praying for you to get better so that you come back and teach us every day.
Oh my.
And I was like,
That's
oh
cute.
my
That's nice.
God, like there is one side where things are just falling apart, and there is some person who I've just known for like 6
Yeah.
months telling me this. I think all of those, wishes. So caring for people, even if you're not part of your life, their life every day, just being kind. I think kindness is something I picked up. It goes a long way.
that time.
All you need to do is to be kind. So yeah, so the Make a Difference experience, I think personally and professionally did transform from an angle that I was a workaholic. So I would
Okay.
work like 12 hours, 14 hours, 15 hours
At the
a day
place. And
at MAD.
have you always been that person where you're exceeding the number of hours per day? Or
Yeah, because you're passionate
about
about what you're doing.
Okay.
You love what you're doing. You're learning and growing. And for me, I just got to play so many different roles in the organization, which probably otherwise would have taken at least 10 years of work experience or 20 years of work experience. I was able to get into these 6-7 years of working with them.
Were you also passionate during your academic life? Like, say, your
Yeah, but
engineering
I was.
Okay.
But as a school kid, I didn't particularly perform too well because I was passionate about dancing.
Oh, is it? Okay.
So I was only focused on that,
Okay.
not particularly into the
nice.
academics. But yeah, I think it's all about doing the best I can. I guess that's what me and my sister have this conversation where I've told her that I have never questioned, is it possible for me?
Okay.
I always say, can I see what is possible for me?
Okay.
So that's how my brain works. I'm so grateful for that, because
Nice.
I never see, I don't think I can do that. Rather, I'll say, hey, I want to see what all can I do with it. It's always that way. So you don't really know your own threshold.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and you then keep pushing yourself to do,
pushing yourself.
yeah. That,
What I'm thinking about this is like you've spoken about being passionate about dancing during your academic life.
yeah.
And of course, you've had this whole experience during your professional life as well.
Yeah.
But what is driving all this? Like, what do you think is driving all this?
I think for
What-
me,
What is that core that's driving all of this?
I think it's just to challenge myself.
Okay.
I really think so, because I love to learn new things.
Okay.
I love to push myself. And also to just embrace. So, like, I remember every year I'll write, make each day count.
Okay.
So that's like in my I journal every day. So in my starting every year I try that, because it's just like you have one day. So why not do? And if that day is just to chill and like really put it, and do it fully, enjoy that. And it's taken a while to get there, to be honest, because like after all of this working excessive hours and all, the thing that was going wrong in 2012 continued through the whole family dynamics and all of those things. So in 2017, I remember that's another big transformation that happened was I hit depression. Like I was a high functioning depression where I just, because after the whole, when I was 7-year-old, basically I lost a sibling, and when all of that happened, I had stopped experiencing a whole range of emotions: anger, sadness, jealousy, any of that.
So you all were how many siblings?
Right now it is me and my sister.
Okay.
And there was a sibling who was just born and he passed away right after. So it's a very, like from a calendar wise, it's a very small incident.
Okay.
But as a 7-year-old, it has a power to affect your life. So I think my parents have played a big role in supporting me to do whatever I want in my life. And I think it would have been much more harder. Like they played, I think, a really, really big role in that.
Because Shilpa, there's so much we speak about in terms of the challenges we face.
Yeah.
But honestly, something like losing a person we know for a fact that that's the biggest hit.
Yes.
So for the fact that your parents created that atmosphere for you, according to me, that is the first brick of this entire plan.
Absolutely.
Because if that brick wasn't laid down right, who knows what else would have gone wrong with you.
Absolutely.
So I think kudos to your parents for that. I think that's really beautiful. Okay, coming back to Make a Difference, and now you're killing it at Make a Difference, right? Achieving those professional goals.
Yes.
And you said that you hit a rough patch in 2017.
17.
Yeah.
Where
so what was that like?
Basically, so I think the beauty of that journey was that I learned to the whole not just rough patch, the whole journey with Make a Difference was, it really challenges me to figure out who I am.
Okay.
I think that's one thing that really happened. And the reason why I spoke about my family and history and the decisions I've made and all of that is because that was very set in stone based on a lot of conditioning, right? And a lot of expectations of not even that my parents never told me you have to do this.
Lovely.
But I thought that's what they would expect me, and hence I chose
That's
it.
just you being sweet, actually.
But still.
They haven't
imposed it, right? But still in your mind, you have all of these narratives, and you'll have family members saying, oh, you know what, they don't have a son who will take care of the business, right? And stuff like that. And as a child, you're like, but why not? Like, just because. So I never looked at myself as a girl or a boy. In fact, I think I was a tomboy all the way through. It took me a long time to like embrace the woman in me kind of a thing. Legit.
This is going to be a reel that I'm going to make.
Oh my God. So basically what happened was I was overworking.
Okay.
Chasing all the goals, dreams, and all of those things. And it wasn't really like I have to hit these goals. It was just like taking all the challenges on, working really hard and doing whatever it takes kind of a thing.
Okay.
But when and I told you, I didn't have access to a lot of emotions, right? And when that hit happened, and it just happened we went for a trek to Bhutan, like a bunch of us, and I came back sick. I got amoebiasis because of some food poisoning. And then you're like, I was sick for a few months, and you can't work because work was my solace, right? So you can't work. I had to go back home, and that's when I had to pause for the first time in my life. Like girl with a plan to somebody who used to work a lot to then you have to pause. Like
so tough,
there is no escaping anything. And that really just opened up a flood of things where I was in a place. So I was somebody who would never even miss a day of work. I couldn't go for a 4-day conference, and this is like a national conference that we used to have. I had to miss it because I couldn't get out of my house and be like, I can't meet people.
Is this because of the physical
sickness kind of? So what I realized is that all of us have different levels of barriers in our mind, it's like those walls. When physically you're sick, everything just crumbled.
Okay, for you,
that's how it always is. In fact, like if I'm physically sick, I would struggle a lot more with feeling better than the other way around.
You realize that?
Yeah. So you have, I think self-awareness. That's why I brought that up very early on in our conversation. So that was when I really started working on, you know what? You have to access your emotions. You have to work your way through. And then I started researching a lot. How do you overcome depression? How do you overcome anxiety? What is it? And I had a support system around me. I think that's one thing that really worked out at my workplace, where they were like, take off. take time out. You don't always have to turn up. You don't always have to show up. And for all of us, it's a new conversation, right? It's a new narrative. Because all your successes are associated, your sense of identity is associated with who you are at work.
With high performance.
With high performance.
Yeah.
So to have to let go of that and to realize that you can just be you and still you're valuable as a person, or you're worth it. That, it's okay to rest. It's okay to take time out. It's okay to turn up late if you can't, because your body is like really given up on, yourself, kind of a thing at that point of time. It was just mind-blowingly, I'm very grateful. That's what, so having people, I said, right, to care.
That's what,
like just knowing that somebody there.
Realization that it's okay to not be a high performer.
It's okay
you
to,
don't need to.
It's okay to not be okay.
Yeah, and I think that's usually self-imposed.
Yes.
It's usually self-imposed.
Yes.
I want to give this example at this point where, when the pandemic hit, March 2020, in my professional life, 2019 was my best one. 2019, I remember, and I spoke about this in the first or second episode, I did 144 shows. I hosted 144 events, which blew my mind. Now, one, I've aimed at that. I've worked for it. Now, two, because of these 144 shows that I hosted, now my own impression of myself is at a different frequency.
Yeah.
Now, anything below that is underperformance. Anything below that is not accepted.
Yeah.
And not only not accepted, it's a failure. Now, imagine high performers like this. We consider ourselves high performers, and that's why we are driving so much.
Yeah.
But when we lose, it hits so hard. So as soon as the pandemic hit, and I went from having, say, 15 shows a month to 0, the situation is bad, but I really didn't know. I lost an identity.
True.
I said, so now who am I?
Exactly.
What am I about?
Yeah.
So when I walk outside, what are people going to respect me for? And soon I realized that I was jobless for, say, 4-5 months before the whole virtual scene started. And no one really changed their behavior towards me. They were still sweet.
Yeah.
They still respected me.
Yeah.
And I realized, man, that was all in your head.
Absolutely.
You can literally screw up for the next 2 years, and your real people are going to be okay with it.
Yeah.
Because, man, your people really care for you. That actually exists.
Like, you matter, that's it.
Yeah, you do matter.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same phase in a way. I mean, at different levels, of course. That you realize that, okay, it's okay to kind of sit back.
It took a while. It took years to actually acknowledge it and accept it. And then I started seeing lately I started seeing the benefits of it.
Okay.
Right? Not running the rat race, not over pushing. Otherwise, I think we also have the mentality that unless we work exceptionally hard and grind ourselves to the ground, we can't succeed. Right? That's one more thing that is there. And it's important to do the hard work. Of course, it's there. But after a point, you also need to allow for space for emergence as well. Kind of a thing. I'll come to that when we talk about, because a lot of these learnings have been applied into Authentic Living.
Perfect.
So,
I think we are at that pivot now, right, in the conversation. Now, so one is your community helped you in that rough patch, and you said you started researching a lot.
Yes.
Now, when you start researching a lot, that is also indicating to me that you're open to change.
Absolutely.
Now you have stopped blaming external environment.
I was always very curious about change. So I've loved change.
So
that thrills me. So so that.
No, the reason why I'm talking about external environment, Shilpa, you're talking about it very easily, okay? I feel 7 out of 10 people. In fact, I think I've also brought that change only off late. 7 out of 10 people first look at external environment to blame.
Absolutely.
As soon as you hit a rough patch, this is wrong, and this is wrong, so I'm here.
That's true.
Maybe it is. Maybe it is the external
environment.
It could be.
There would be.
But can you change it?
No. You can only change yourself.
You just can't, right?
Exactly.
So, so let's get into that side where now you are ready to come out of that patch.
Absolutely.
And what happened then?
Sure. Yeah. So, it was a lot of inner work. Okay. So, I think 2017 on inner work, when I say inner work, it's about understanding yourself, seeing the things that works for you, seeing the things that are your shadows meaning aspect of, just because, for example, I say that just because I'm working a lot, that's had its shadows. I've lost a lot of my friendship. I wasn't keeping in touch with people I would have liked to keep in touch with. So just being very aware of who you are as a person and who you want to be And know that like just because this is who you are today doesn't mean you can't change. Like if you choose to, you can change.
You can. Yeah.
So mindfulness was the first thing I picked up as a practice.
Okay.
Then somebody else recommended, like meditation. So meditation is not the only way to be mindful. Like you can eat mindfully. Like one question I have for you is that have you ever gone to a restaurant alone and
First time I'm like, I'm getting a question. Should I feel thrilled or tense?
Oops.
Yes,
Sorry.
let's go for it.
No, I was just like, have you ever sat alone in a restaurant,
Okay.
had food without your phone
And
or a book?
I can't. It's too tough.
Yeah,
It's too tough.
that's-
If I'm sitting alone at a restaurant and eating, my phone, my movie or my YouTube video switches on before my food arrives.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right? So just think about it. Food is such a sacred thing. Sacred thing from an angle that it makes our entire system.
Okay.
But we are so mindless about what we are eating. Because we can't sit with ourselves and just eat food, right? And that's the other thing. Like you learn to, I think one big journey that happened to me is I've learned to really enjoy my own company. Like I really, I can entertain myself really well. Sometimes sounds a bit crazy, but it's
That's
things like
awesome.
that where you become aware of the food that you're eating. Like just focusing only on that is practice of mindfulness. From here to like the gate to your gate where you're stepping down, right? Like when you become aware of every step you're taking, that's mindfulness. So just being fully present in the here and now and in your body. So I picked up a lot of these tools to just self-explore, experiment,
Okay.
and that helped.
Okay.
So that's when I realized one, we can make changes to ourselves, right? But there is no school that's really teaching us. It's either said in the form of spirituality,
Yeah.
where it is like, oh, you meditate because something else will happen, or it is made so intellectual that people find it hard to engage with.
And it's almost tough to even start thinking of it because they feel they are incapable
Exactly.
of understanding.
Exactly.
something
But
like
it's
that.
just, it's like breathing. It's
Yeah.
it's things that we did as kids.
Yeah.
Every single thing. But we have forgotten that as we became adults. And that's what I realized started bringing what started affecting our mindset, mind space. Being open with emotions. Like when you cry, it's like, oh my God, why are you crying? Crying is bad. But it's not. It is just another way of expressing and releasing your stress or emotions or whatever. So there's a lot of these things that I became aware of and started playing around with for myself. So anything we do at Authentic Living is things that I have experienced and explored. Nothing goes out without that.
Without that.
Without that.
So there's this, maybe that was your research phase.
Research phase. It
where
was.
you're wearing the scientist cap
Yes.
and saying, let's understand this and this first.
Yes.
And that's what you're trying
That's
to
what
do
I was
here.
trying to do.
Okay.
So then it happened, it went on. So I won't go into the details, but another thing that went on was that I decided I want to take a break from work. A 6 week sabbatical.
I told her we have to talk about this because she said you went to Bali.
Yes, I went
So
to
this
Bali.
is like a Facebook story where
It's an Eat, Pray, Love's different version.
Okay, that's a more accurate way of putting it. So she was in Bali apparently for how long?
5 weeks.
5 weeks, and that's where the seed of Authentic Living was
Absolutely.
born. So yeah, you're in Bali.
I'm in Bali. I took break from work. And my goal was I want to know who I am when nobody knows me.
Okay.
So every day morning, I would wake up and I ask myself, what do I want to do? Because I always generally plan. I love planning. It's so great to plan. So I'm like, what if I do it differently?
Okay.
Only thing I did was I booked my tickets, two-way tickets, and where I was going to stay. That's it. Nothing else was decided until I reached there.
Okay.
So I went there. So every day, different stuff, surfing, trying to learn djembe, all of those things, and taking each day as it comes, trying out all new things. And I realized, hey, I'm actually not too different whether somebody's observing me or not. I'm just a little bit more vocal. That was the only one change I figured out by myself.
Okay.
And I can't be idle. I can spend 2 days without doing anything. I don't watch shows. I don't like once in a while I watch TV and all. I read quite a lot. So what I did was I write quite a bit. So I was just writing some stuff. I joined a co-working space so that you meet a community there and get to engage with people and all of that. So I did some writing. You remember the Harvard dream I spoke to you about?
Yeah.
That I had put off because I realized MBA is not for me. I don't want to do it. And then I realized I have an executive program. It's an alternative to executive MBA.
Oh, this is nice.
So I'm like, okay, I have time. I just randomly applied.
In Bali.
In Bali. So I sent that application. So every week I did one thing. So 1 week I did that. And the following, so around 2 weeks into, taking my break. And I realized that, when you really love what you do, you're very in it. You're not zoomed out.
Yeah.
And I loved working at Make a Difference. So it wasn't like a question of, do I have to leave my job or something like that? But at that co-working space, there were a lot of entrepreneurs.
Okay.
And
So
I was
that
like,
kind of-
yeah, and I'm like, I have never started something from the scratch.
Okay.
I think with experience, I will know how to run a big organization, and like
Okay.
Matt had given me the opportunities to play different roles of, like leading different verticals and all of those. So I was like, okay, what do I do? What do I want to do with my life?
Okay.
So that really helped, and that's when I was sitting and thinking,
Okay.
and I was like, okay, I applied for this Harvard thing. If that works out, it works out.
Yeah.
We don't have an institution that teaches you emotional regulation. Things that we should have been taught in school growing up as children
So
are
good.
not taught, right? And we need to talk about it. We need to pick it up. We need to learn it, because I think unless we are taking care of ourselves, we can't be of any use to anybody else. And I know Manny spoke
Yeah.
about this as well.
Yeah.
Right? And it's the same thing. If I need to be of service to anybody else, and if I need to
Yeah.
be able to add value,
Are you strong on your
are you
foundation?
able to
Yeah.
figure it out yourself, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not easy when you have to
It's
do
not.
something that is not mainstream. It's not, there are so many hurdles and mental blocks that comes in. So can you at all points of time be your own best
Yeah.
friend, right? Like what advice would you give? So I just sat down. I remember like just took a paper, penning it all down. And my journey, what I realized was the more authentic I became as a human being,
Okay.
who was okay with all emotions, who was not a perfectionist, who was not somebody who was a control. Like I was somebody who liked to control everything, and I realized actually that's an illusion. You can't control anything except for your day right now. Like this conversation we can control.
You can control. Yeah.
That's it. But I don't know what is next,
Yeah.
right? So once I learned all of those, I realized the biggest for me, and people around me kept saying, you look a lot more happier, look a lot more fresher. Like I had lost 15 kgs,
Oh.
just got so much more healthier, eating cleaner, much more balanced life. And I realized it was the real journey for me was about being my own authentic self, finding who I am, and it's a journey. And it will keep
Positive.
evolving.
Yeah.
So I always say I am a work in progress. That's what I say. If anybody asks me, that's what I would say.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's what it is. It's about living authentically.
Okay.
And that's where the name Authentic Living came.
Lovely. In the most raw form possible.
And it had to be as simple as that. If you
Yeah.
look at the logo, it is as simple as it gets.
Yeah, it is.
Right? I'm just like, it has to, and it can't be with any fluff or, any dramatics. It's just, what does it mean to live authentically, to be yourself authentically? That's where authentic
So
living
lovely.
came in.
So in a way, for someone associated or for someone who decides to associate themselves with authentic living and what they do, can I say that at least y'all are going to help start that journey?
That's the hope. That's the
Yeah.
dream.
Of course, you're going to be with them through the journey, but that
Yeah.
spark to start
Yes.
and look the right way,
Yes.
and maybe adapt those levels of acceptance first
Absolutely.
is something that.
So acceptance and awareness is one. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you see right now, what we're doing is like a lot of finding your own self, finding your own fire, your spark, whatever you want to call it, is to do a lot of healing too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, there's a lot coming in as well.
There's a lot coming in as well from.
Yeah, let's forget what's coming. There's already things you haven't solved.
Exactly. There's a lot of
Yeah.
baggages that we have to work. Like, I've read somewhere, like, okay, I don't think we can say that over a podcast, but the whole idea is that as an adult, your responsibility is to really work through all your things that you accumulated over childhood. I'm putting it in a very refined way,
yeah,
right?
go ahead.
So,
I
to
mean-
do that, because, like, as children, we are dependent on other people.
Yeah.
So we pick up a lot of things, expectations, behaviors, habit for our survival.
Yeah.
Like even the small thing of me not having access to those emotions since I was 7 years old till I was 27 was a survival mechanism. I needed it at that time.
Yeah.
But as an adult, if you don't have those access to that, you're partly experiencing life. Right? So like that, there are so many of it. And I catch myself every now and then with that, like, in different stages, like your relationship with your parents, relationship with
Yeah.
your friends, your relationship with your partner, like whatever it is, even your work, how you see yourself, your sense of identity. There's so much of unlearning we need to do as children because we all have an inner child.
To learn, like, before picking up anything else, we got to drop a few.
Drop a
things.
few. We also need to become almost like reparent our inner child because all of us
Yeah.
have a child in us.
Yeah, yeah.
And how do we be that person, that adult in that child's life which still exists within us
Oh my
by
God,
ourselves without expecting it
deep.
from other people?
Yeah.
Right? So all of that are the work that we need to do, and it's hard work. It's not
Yeah.
easy,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's worth it.
It's doable.
It's doable.
So what does a person what does a person get? So now someone visits Authentic Living website or the Instagram page.
Yeah.
what should they do as step number one if they want to kind of get help or reach out to you? What's the first thing they should do, and what are they looking for?
Okay, so basically right now, because I would love to do 100 different things,
Okay.
but I've realized that it's very important to focus on one thing,
Okay.
and get started on that, and like really
Okay.
put all our effort behind that. So right now, there are multiple things. One is somebody who's curious about mental health and well-being
Okay.
will get information from our Instagram page itself, because
Okay.
we are putting up content that's going to be useful for you to think about,
Okay.
for you to utilize, experiment with yourself. And I tell anybody and everybody, just play with it, right? Like play with it, own it, explore, experiment, because that's the only way to figure things out
Okay.
for yourself. That's one. We do workshops, as I said, every
Okay.
month. Every month we do 2 workshops for those who
And
are.
what are these workshops
So
about?
on different things, like we did an inner child healing 2
Okay.
weeks back. This coming week we are
And
doing.
you have resource people coming in and running this?
Yeah, we have
or-
therapists. So I have
Okay.
right now on board 2 qualified therapists
Okay.
who are there, who run all of these sessions.
Oh, so nice.
Yeah, so the one that we're doing, I think the day this gets released is when
Okay.
the next workshop is going to be on 28th.
Very nice.
We're doing that on allyship, because inclusivity is super important.
What's that?
Allyship, being an ally for the
Allyship.
LGBTQ
Okay.
community. As to what does that mean like? Because we put a lot of responsibility on the community itself to,
Okay.
speak up and show up for themselves. As people in the heteronormative phase, how do we show up and be there? So we talk, because it's about community building plus healing, and the upcoming workshop is around grief. How do you cope and manage grief?
So these workshops are virtual, of course.
It's virtual. It's a 2-hour long workshop for those who want to pick up small base. It's like what do you say? A preview or a
Okay.
trailer to what you could
Of-
do,
Yeah, what's coming?
of what's coming and what
Yeah.
you can do for your own self work. But it's their own timing. So just 2
Yeah.
hours of commitment.
Okay.
Right.
Super. So workshops are happening for a person who wants to explore mental health.
Yes.
And what else would you
And
suggest?
then for those who want to really start doing the work, is we have therapists. So
Okay.
you can sign up for children and for adults. So our
Okay.
therapists are qualified to do both.
Amazing.
So we have therapists. So you sign up sign up, book a session, and you basically start therapy. So that's the other thing that we have right now for an individual.
Okay.
We also want to work with corporates.
Yeah.
So engage with corporates and be their well-being partner as well.
Yeah.
Because I think when we spoke last time, I told you, right? Like we have like a 1.3 trillion economic loss that's been estimated by WHO between 2012 to 2030.
Yeah.
This was pre-pandemic. And I'm like, we need to do something about it, because
that.
mental health is critical. And I know that, like, I know people taking time off, like having a
Yeah.
health break day, not just a
100%.
physical health, it's also mental health. So can we be the agents of, providing
Yeah.
support for corporates
Like
as
if you
well?
have the best resources,
Yeah.
I'm sure corporates will be happy to say, you know what, we keep this budget aside.
Absolutely.
These are the number of people you can go ahead and
Yeah.
they
Those
can
who want to,
consult
they
with
can
them.
avail
Yeah.
with, right? And there has
Yeah.
to be confidential. So there's a lot of things, because these are sensitive topics. So these are things that needs to be also taken care of in that way. So we do pro masterclasses, which is basically again group sessions,
Okay.
as well as access for individual therapy. So that is the other thing that is there
Lovely.
that we do. And additionally, one thing that I am really excited about right now is, I've noticed that we've had a lot of sign-ups,
Okay.
and about like 30% of people don't convert into joining therapy because they can't afford it.
Okay.
So one thing that right now I'm working on with the team is, how do we bring in we have a gift therapy option where if you want to give
Oh,
therapy to a friend,
that's
you can.
nice.
That's already there. So
That's
that's up on our
amazing.
website,
Yeah.
up on our Instagram page. The thing that we're doing is, can you sponsor therapy?
Okay.
So you're doing fine, you're doing well, like it's your birthday and you want to do something good. Can you sponsor therapy so that
someone
for
else.
somebody else?
Yeah.
And and so that they can afford to take access to therapy. I know so much. And one of the biggest things as to why the pivot happened was during the second lockdown,
wave, yeah.
second wave. A girl reached out to me asking for therapy.
Okay.
And she told me that she's been abused as a child,
Okay.
and her family is aware of it, and she had overcome it. But now as a 17-year-old, she's like, and pandemic, and you got to pause and you start
Yeah.
thinking a lot more. She's like, I know I need more help.
Yeah.
She reached out to me, and at that point of time, I am not a therapist, so I can't
Yeah.
recommend. So I recommended her to another organization, that works with children who have
Okay.
been abused, and I've been trained as a facilitator of person safety education from there. So I trust them, and I know that they would take care.
Yeah.
And I shared their number. 1 week later, I reached out to her asking her, hey, did you start therapy?
reach out?
And she's like, no, because I thought I'd have to pay. And the thing is, my instant reaction is that, you know what, I can pay for you, but I can't do that because she's 17.
Yeah.
She's a child.
Yeah.
And it can come and like be a problem later on,
Later on.
So then that's when I was like, okay, this is definitely something that we have to do and we have to take care of. So there are a lot of children and women and girls and boys who are actually students who can't afford therapy at this point of time, but they need it. And
That's
pandemic
amazing.
has really affected
Yeah.
them, their social life and all of those
And
as well.
honestly, I think there are going to be a lot of people who would love it to not just help someone else get therapy, but there are a lot of people who would be happy with the fact that someone is going to take care of my therapy. Like that might just change their entire life.
And our aim is not to make it 100% free. Like
Yeah,
around
there
like
is
10%,
value
5%,
there.
10% for them.
100%.
So they
Yeah.
take it seriously too.
Yeah.
But it would be like a huge, I think it would change the possibilities because people who need help should get help.
Should get
right?
help.
Like that's what it should be. So I'm hoping this particular project, we're rolling it out in a couple of weeks, so probably in time of the podcast coming out. So that's something that we're working on because that's a big gap that exists. So one by one, we're bridging the gap. Quality therapists are in, right? We are doing awareness conversations and all of those. It'll take a while for us to establish ourselves to be people who would listen to when we say there is very little regulations with respect to mental health and well-being in India.
Yeah.
Which is again a risk, right? Like
it's a sensitive issue.
It's a sensitive
so,
issue.
yeah.
So there's a lot of work that needs to be done, but for that we need to prove that we are here for the long haul and we're here to do good work and we're just getting started. I know this is like we are like literally in the starting line. It's not even that and we have a long way to go, but we're ready to do that. And I'm glad I have like a great team who's equally passionate and like excited to make this happen. Yeah.
I think the one thing that you've done is you have given a perfect introduction of what someone is going to find at Authentic Living. And honestly, for me personally, with each episode that I do, that's all my agenda is like, can I connect y'all with someone of value? So if you've watched this episode, no matter how long you watched it, just go check it out, have a look, and trust the person sitting opposite me, because I think that's not going to be a doubt. I really feel like everyone knows who's genuine and who's not genuine, and that's enough for people to come towards Authentic Living. That's one thing. And I want to know from you, like with mental health, what's like one message you want to give out to the audience in terms of a time like this? And I feel that's the concluding point of this podcast. Like, what's one thing you would tell them for a phase like this that we are in?
It's hard.
Okay.
It's not easy. So there is no shying away from the fact that things are difficult, especially for those who have lost family members and friends. And it's really young. Like the second wave took out a lot of people who were young, our age, right? So it's hard.
It's scary.
It's very scary. But I would say show up for yourself. I think that's one thing that I would request. It's a request that I have. I'd say show up for yourself, because that way you'll be able to help yourself as well as people around you. And if that means asking for help, ask for it.
Beautiful, Shilpa. I think that's it from my side. Thank you for being so articulate about your thoughts, and not just articulate. You've been a guest who's kept no filter, who's been open and done justice to the fact that it's on a personal note. I did not see you hesitating with anything. You owned your highs and lows so well that I think that's what we all got to do. Like, own your lows. Honestly, I feel like that's what is going to define who we are. And with a rich background like yours, like, full power to Authentic Living.
Thank you so much.
All the best with that journey, and with whatever Authentic Living goes ahead and achieves in their life. I'd love to be a part of it. I'd love to discuss further on what you guys are doing, and let's see where that goes.
Thank you so much for having me over, Adarsh. Loved it.
Awesome. So thank you guys for watching this. This was episode 8 of On a Personal Note with Adarsh Sakre. Let me know what you guys think. Go ahead, follow Authentic Living. Message them about what you felt about the episode. You let me know. If you want me to ask Shilpa some questions, go ahead and ask me as well. I'll pass it on to her, and maybe we make a separate episode on Instagram addressing those questions. That can be done as well. So thank you for being here, everyone. See you on the next one.